ਸਤਿ ਸ਼੍ਰੀ ਅਕਾਲ, ਸਵਾਗਤ ਹੈ ਤੁਹਾਡਾ ਸਾਰਿਆਂ ਦਾ ਕੈਨੇਡਾ ਇਨਫੋਕਸ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ। ਮੈਂ ਹਾਂ ਰੁਪਿੰਦਰ ਕੌਰ। ਬੀਤੇ ਦਿਨੀ ਫੈਡਰਲ ਸਰਕਾਰ ਵੱਲੋਂ ਫੈਡਰਲ ਬਜਟ 2022 ਪੇਸ਼ ਕੀਤਾ ਗਿਆ, ਜਿਸ ਵਿੱਚ ਖਾਸ ਤੌਰ ਤੇ ਹਾਊਸਿੰਗ ਨੂੰ ਤਵੱਜੋ ਦਿੱਤੀ ਗਈ। ਬੀਤੇ ਕੁਝ ਸਮੇਂ ਤੋਂ ਲਗਾਤਾਰ ਘਰਾਂ ਦੀਆਂ ਕੀਮਤਾਂ ਵਧ ਰਹੀਆਂ ਸਨ, ਜੋ ਕਿ ਚਿੰਤਾ ਦਾ ਵਿਸ਼ਾ ਬਣੀ ਹੋਈ ਸੀ। ਐਸੇ ਨੂੰ ਧਿਆਨ ਵਿੱਚ ਰੱਖਦਿਆਂ ਹਾਊਸਿੰਗ ਲਈ ਕਈ ਮੈਜਰਸ ਪ੍ਰਪੋਜ਼ ਕੀਤੇ ਗਏ ਨੇ ਤੇ ਜੇ ਬਜਟ ਪਾਸ ਹੁੰਦਾ ਹੈ ਤਾਂ ਜਲਦ ਤੋਂ ਜਲਦ ਇਹ ਇੰਪਲੀਮੈਂਟ ਵੀ ਕੀਤੇ ਜਾਣਗੇ। ਕੀ ਨੇ ਇਹ ਮੈਜਰਸ, ਐਸੇ ਤੇ ਆਧਾਰਿਤ ਰਹੇਗੀ ਸਾਡੀ ਅੱਜ ਦੀ ਹੈ ਖਾਸ ਪੇਸ਼ਕਸ਼। ਕੈਨੇਡਾ ਵਿੱਚ ਲਗਾਤਾਰ ਵਧ ਰਹੀਆਂ ਘਰਾਂ ਦੀਆਂ ਕੀਮਤਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਵੇਖਦੇ ਹੋਏ ਇਸ ਵਾਰ ਫੈਡਰਲ ਬਜਟ ਵਿੱਚ ਫੈਡਰਲ ਸਰਕਾਰ ਵੱਲੋਂ ਕਈ ਨਵੇਂ ਐਲਾਨ ਕੀਤੇ ਜਾ ਰਹੇ ਨੇ ਤੇ ਉਮੀਦ ਕੀਤੀ ਜਾ ਰਹੀ ਹੈ ਕਿ ਬਜਟ ਪਾਸ ਹੋਣ ਤੋਂ ਬਾਅਦ ਜਲਦ ਤੋਂ ਜਲਦ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਹੋਂਦ ਵਿੱਚ ਲਿਆਂਦਾ ਜਾਏਗਾ। ਕੀ ਨੇ ਇਹ ਅਹਿਮ ਐਲਾਨ, ਪਾਉਂਦੇ ਹਾਂ ਇੱਕ ਨਜ਼ਰ। ਫੈਡਰਲ ਸਰਕਾਰ ਵੱਲੋਂ ਪੇਸ਼ ਕੀਤੇ ਗਏ ਬਜਟ 2022 ਵਿੱਚ ਹਾਊਸਿੰਗ ਲਈ ਨਵੇਂ ਮਾਪਦੰਡ ਅਪਣਾਉਣ ਦੀ ਗੱਲ ਕੀਤੀ ਗਈ ਹੈ। ਅਗਲੇ ਦਹਾਕੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਹਾਊਸਿੰਗ ਕੰਸਟਰਕਸ਼ਨ ਦੁੱਗਣੀ ਕਰਨ ਦੀ ਸੰਭਾਵਨਾ ਹੈ। ਇਸ ਨਾਲ ਕੈਨੇਡੀਅਨ ਆਪਣਾ ਪਹਿਲਾ ਘਰ ਹੋਣ ਦਾ ਸੁਪਨਾ ਪੂਰਾ ਕਰ ਸਕਣਗੇ। ਫੈਡਰਲ ਬਜਟ 2022 ਵਿੱਚ ਇਸ ਤਰ੍ਹਾਂ ਦੇ ਮਾਪਦੰਡ ਅਪਣਾਏ ਜਾ ਰਹੇ ਨੇ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਹਾਊਸਿੰਗ ਤੱਕ ਸਾਰਿਆਂ ਦੀ ਪਹੁੰਚ ਯਕੀਨੀ ਬਣਾਉਣਗੇ ਤੇ ਅਜਿਹੀ ਵਰਕਫੋਰਸ ਤਿਆਰ ਕੀਤੀ ਜਾ ਰਹੀ ਹੈ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਆਰਥਿਕ ਵਿਕਾਸ ਵਿੱਚ ਮਦਦ ਕਰੇਗੀ। ਇਸ ਬਜਟ ਵਿੱਚ ਹਾਊਸਿੰਗ ਲਈ ਨਵੇਂ ਮਾਪਦੰਡ ਅਪਣਾਉਣ ਦੀ ਵੀ ਗੱਲ ਕੀਤੀ ਗਈ ਹੈ। ਅਗਲੇ ਦਹਾਕੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਹਾਊਸਿੰਗ ਕੰਸਟਰਕਸ਼ਨ ਦੁੱਗਣੀ ਕਰਨ ਦੀ ਵੀ ਸੰਭਾਵਨਾ ਹੈ। ਇਸ ਨਾਲ ਕੈਨੇਡੀਅਨ ਆਪਣਾ ਪਹਿਲਾ ਘਰ ਹੋਣ ਦਾ ਸੁਪਨਾ ਪੂਰਾ ਕਰ ਸਕਣਗੇ। ਲਿਬਰਲ ਪਾਰਟੀ ਵੱਲੋਂ ਅਗਲੇ 2 ਸਾਲਾਂ ਲਈ ਵਿਦੇਸ਼ੀ ਲੋਕਾਂ ਦੇ ਕੈਨੇਡਾ ਵਿੱਚ ਰਿਹਾਇਸ਼ੀ ਸੰਪੱਤੀ ਖਰੀਦਣ ਨੂੰ ਗੈਰ ਕਾਨੂੰਨੀ ਕਰਾਰ ਦਿੱਤਾ ਜਾਏਗਾ। ਇਸ ਤਰ੍ਹਾਂ ਦੀ ਪ੍ਰਾਪਰਟੀ ਵਿੱਚ ਕੌਂਡੋਜ਼, ਅਪਾਰਟਮੈਂਟਸ ਤੇ ਸਿੰਗਲ ਰੈਜ਼ੀਡੈਂਸ਼ੀਅਲ ਯੂਨਿਟਸ ਸ਼ਾਮਲ ਹੋਣਗੇ। ਪਰਮਾਨੈਂਟ ਰੈਜ਼ੀਡੈਂਟਸ, ਵਿਦੇਸ਼ੀ ਵਰਕਰਸ ਤੇ ਵਿਦਿਆਰਥੀਆਂ ਦੇ ਨਾਲ-ਨਾਲ ਕੈਨੇਡਾ ਵਿੱਚ ਆਪਣੀ ਮੁੱਢਲੀ ਰਿਹਾਇਸ਼ ਖਰੀਦਣ ਵਾਲੇ ਵਿਦੇਸ਼ੀਆਂ ਨੂੰ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਮਾਪਦੰਡਾਂ ਤੋਂ ਪਾਸੇ ਰੱਖਿਆ ਜਾਏਗਾ। ਪ੍ਰਧਾਨ ਮੰਤਰੀ ਜਸਟਿਨ ਟਰੂਡੋ ਨੇ 2021 ਦੀ ਫੈਡਰਲ ਚੋਣ ਕੈਂਪੇਨ ਵਿੱਚ ਇਹ ਤਹੱਈਆ ਪ੍ਰਗਟਾਇਆ ਸੀ ਕਿ ਉਹ ਵਿਦੇਸ਼ੀ ਲੋਕਾਂ ਦੇ ਕੈਨੇਡਾ ਵਿੱਚ ਘਰ ਖਰੀਦਣ ਉੱਤੇ 2 ਸਾਲ ਦੀ ਪਾਬੰਦੀ ਲਗਾਉਣਗੇ। ਇਹ ਉਹ ਲੋਕ ਨੇ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਬਾਹਰੋਂ ਆ ਕੇ ਕੈਨੇਡਾ ਵਿੱਚ ਘਰ ਤਾਂ ਖਰੀਦ ਲੈਂਦੇ ਨੇ ਪਰ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਘਰਾਂ ਵਿੱਚ ਰਹਿਣ ਲਈ ਕਦੇ ਨਹੀਂ ਆਉਂਦੇ ਤੇ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦੇ ਘਰ ਖਾਲੀ ਪਏ ਰਹਿੰਦੇ ਨੇ ਤੇ ਇਸ ਤਰ੍ਹਾਂ ਹੋਰ ਲੋਕ ਉਹ ਘਰ ਨਹੀਂ ਖਰੀਦ ਪਾਉਂਦੇ। ਇਸ ਵਾਰ ਦੇ ਬਜਟ ਵਿੱਚ ਰਿਹਾਇਸ਼ੀ ਪ੍ਰਾਪਰਟੀਜ਼ ਦੀ ਤੇਜ਼ੀ ਨਾਲ ਉਸਾਰੀ ਦਾ ਰਾਹ ਪੱਧਰਾ ਕਰਨ ਵਾਸਤੇ ਮਿਊਨਿਸਪੈਲਿਟੀਜ਼ ਦੀ ਮਦਦ ਲਈ $4 ਬਿਲੀਅਨ ਰਾਖਵੇਂ ਰੱਖੇ ਗਏ ਨੇ, ਜਿਸ ਨਾਲ ਉਹ ਆਪਣੇ ਜ਼ੋਨਿੰਗ ਤੇ ਪਰਮਿਟ ਸਿਸਟਮਸ ਨੂੰ ਅਪਡੇਟ ਕਰ ਸਕਣ। ਇਸ ਤੋਂ ਇਲਾਵਾ ਲੋਨਸ ਤੇ ਕੋਆਪ ਹਾਊਸਿੰਗ ਲਈ $1.5 ਬਿਲੀਅਨ ਤੇ ਕਿਫਾਇਤੀ ਘਰਾਂ ਦੀ ਉਸਾਰੀ ਲਈ $1 ਬਿਲੀਅਨ ਰਾਖਵੇਂ ਰੱਖੇ ਗਏ ਨੇ। ਤੇ ਫੈਡਰਲ ਬਜਟ ਵਿੱਚ ਹਾਊਸਿੰਗ ਸੰਬੰਧੀ ਕੀਤੇ ਗਏ ਅਹਿਮ ਐਲਾਨ ਸੰਬੰਧੀ ਗੱਲਬਾਤ ਕਰਦੇ ਹਾਂ ਮਿਨਿਸਟਰ ਆਫ ਹਾਊਸਿੰਗ, ਇਨਕਲੂਜਨ ਐਂਡ ਡਾਇਵਰਸਿਟੀ ਅਹਿਮਦ ਹੁਸੈਨ ਦੇ ਨਾਲ। Hello Minister, and thank you so much for taking out time for PTC.
Thank you so much for having me on your show once again.
Minister, as this year budget is big on housing and you have invested heavily in housing, but last year also investment was made, but the problem is still there. So what makes this plan different?
Well, it's important to recognize that Budget 2022 introduces a comprehensive set of measures and different investments to really tackle the issue of housing affordability and generally the affordability challenges facing Canadians. So we're doing that in 4 different ways. Number one, we're doing that by tackling housing supply. Prime Minister Justin Trudeau has said that our government will lead a national effort to double the number of new homes built in Canada within the next 10 years. And as the first step of that, we are introducing a housing accelerator fund of $4 billion to work directly with municipalities to build 100,000 new homes by 2024, so within the next 2 years. So building more supply is part of the solution. Obviously, Canada has the fastest growing population in the G7 countries, and our supply of housing has not kept up with the demand that is needed in our country. And so doubling the number of homes built will ensure that we're solving that problem. The second thing that we're doing is helping first-time home buyers. Affordability is an issue. We're doing that by introducing a first-time home buyer tax-free savings account of up to $40,000. And that tax-free account will have money, tax-free money going in and tax-free money coming out of the account. We're also doubling the first-time homebuyer tax credit to $10,000. This will help people with the cost of making sure that the costs associated with purchasing a house, that they are more able to meet those costs. We are extending the first-time homebuyer incentive, which is a shared equity mortgage program that helps people with the down payment. We're also tackling unfair business practices and speculation in the real estate sector. We're doing that by working together with provinces and territories to eliminate blind bidding and to ban foreign ownership of Canadian residential real estate for the next 2 years, which should enable more homes to become available for Canadians. And we will also make sure that we build more affordable housing. Building more affordable housing is also part of the solution. We're doing that by investing in the building of new co-ops. The first time that new co-ops will be built in 30 years. We're investing in extending the Rapid Housing Initiative, in extending supports for seniors, making sure that families, women fleeing domestic violence have an affordable place to call home, a safe place to call home. So these measures have to be looked at together. There's not one single tool that will fix the problem, but I think all of them taken together will make a big difference for enabling Canadians to access affordable housing.
But as you mentioned, the diagnosis of the housing crisis is supply.
It's part of it. The supply is part of the problem, but speculation is another part. So ending blind bidding, for example, doesn't have anything to do with supply, but blind bidding is unfair because, as I always say, if two people are trying to purchase a car at an auction, they both know what the other person is bidding. But if they want to buy a house, they don't know what the other person is bidding. So blind bidding has led to a huge increase in home prices. We know that the foreign investment in residential real estate also is part of the problem. So by curbing those things, we're dealing with speculation, but we're also dealing with access for more Canadians towards to access their dream of home ownership.
But are municipalities on board with this to increase the capacity?
Yes, they are. In fact, not only have I been meeting mayors over the years about this, but there's also the Federation of Canadian Municipalities, which represents these municipalities. Canada's municipalities, they have come out clearly in favor of a housing accelerator fund. But individual mayors have also expressed support over the years, and they've actually called on us to help them in this regard. A lot of municipalities do want to increase supply, do want to build more affordable housing. They want to do more in this space. They don't have the capacity. Their fiscal capacity is very limited, and we want to help them to increase their capacity so that they can build more and that they can build faster.
But Minister, you have a plan to build more and help people buy, but the cap on tax-free saving account is around $40,000. But if you look at the average price of the house, say about in Brampton, the average price is $900,000. So why this amount is so less?
As I said, it's these programs have to be looked at together. So it's the tax-free savings account. It's also what we're doing to double the first-time home buyer tax credit to $10,000. There's also the first-time home buyer incentive, which we're extending and improving. So taken together, that makes a big difference for people.
But definitely, tax-free saving account would help those who have money to save. But what about those who are struggling to save?
I'm glad you asked that. We are introducing a new program called Rent to Own, which has an aim of turning more Canadian renters into homeowners, and that program has received an allocation of $200 million in the budget, and that money is meant to go towards nonprofits and developers and rent-to-own companies so that we can test out new models. There's a number of ways to tackle to introduce a rent-to-own model, but we have to find the best model to proceed with. This is something that's new to Canada, but we intend to use it so that we can turn more Canadian renters into homeowners, people who are struggling with down payments, as you said.
Minister, will continue this conversation with you right after a short break. ब्रेक तो बाद एक बारी फिर तो ਤੁਹਾਡਾ ਸਵਾਗਤ ਹੈ। ਸਾਡੀ ਗੱਲਬਾਤ ਚੱਲ ਰਹੀ ਹੈ ਖਾਸ ਤੌਰ ਤੇ ਮਿਨਿਸਟਰ ਅਹਿਮਦ ਹੁਸੈਨ ਦੇ ਨਾਲ। Minister, as federal government's plan is to grow economy and make life more affordable, and to address this, housing measures have been announced like tax-free saving account and banning of foreign investment, banning of flipping.
Doubling the supply.
Yes, of course, doubling the supply. But do you think all these measures will make real estate market more fair?
I think so. Absolutely. I mean, let's just look at one thing. If we eliminate blind bidding, that will introduce more fairness into the system. If we prevent foreign investors from gobbling up Canadian residential real estate, I think that will bring more homes available. Will make more homes available for Canadian buyers. Homes are meant to be lived in, not to be treated as an item of speculation and investment by foreign buyers. And we're addressing that concern that we heard from Canadians.
So, Minister, what are the timelines when all these measures will be implemented?
Well, I mean, we just presented the budget. The budget has to then be support. We have to get support for the budget through the Budget Implementation Act, through Parliament. Once that's received, then we can start to implement the measures contained in Budget 2022. We want to move as quickly as possible because this is something that Canadians have asked us to do. In terms of the Housing Accelerator Fund, I had called for an open call for ideas in December to get ideas on how we should design the Housing Accelerator Fund in December and the rent-to-own program. So we already have very good feedback from Canadian experts and others in the sector on how to actually implement this as quickly as possible and as effectively as possible. So we're just waiting for Parliament to support the budget, which we hope they will, and then we can proceed with our work.
So, Minister, to extend rapid housing initiative with this new investment, how many affordable units are expected?
Well, Budget 2022 actually invests an additional $14.1 billion in affordable housing alone. That will make a huge difference in terms of building and repairing, tens of thousands of new homes across the country. Co-op housing, $1.5 billion to build 6,000 new co-ops. The first time that the federal government will build new co-ops in 30 years. $1.5 billion investment in the Rapid Housing Initiative to build an additional 6,000 permanently affordable homes, 22,000 homes, deeply affordable homes to be built through a $2.9 billion investment in the co-investment fund, and then making sure that through the Housing Accelerator Fund also there's room to build affordable housing. And there's the existing programs. The National Housing Strategy continues. The $72.5 billion National Housing Strategy program is a 10-year program. So that work also continues. So we expect through Budget 2022 and the investments that we're making to close the gap between Indigenous peoples and Canada when it comes to housing. There's an additional $4.3 billion there that is going towards addressing Indigenous housing. All of these things will make a huge difference in terms of bringing more affordable housing to the market, deeply affordable housing.
So with all these new measures, what can we expect in housing market in next 5 years?
Well, what I would say is that, first of all, on the issue of housing, it's important to recognize that the federal government has some tools to address the issues, but we're not the only factor in the market. We know that the provinces and territories have some tools. Municipal governments have a lot of tools also to address the housing challenges facing Canadians. So we have to work together. What I would like to see within 5 years or even before is the Housing Accelerator Fund making a big difference in the capacity of municipalities to build more and to build it faster. I think if we achieve that, that will make a huge difference. Obviously, within that same time period, we will see a lot of progress towards meeting our goal of doubling housing supply in this country within 10 years. Hopefully, the co-ops will be well on their way, if not done. Rapid Housing Initiative is even easier to predict because there's a requirement to build in 12 months or less. So that should be done within 12 months of the money being given, which is very soon. So, I'm very optimistic. I think, and on the speculation side, I think banning foreign investment in residential real estate, tackling blind bidding, tackling flipping, and so on. That will also make a difference. I believe that will unlock more supply and provide more homes for Canadians to purchase.
Well, Minister, thank you so much for taking out time for PTC and talking about this main issue of housing. Thank you so much. We appreciate.
Thank you very much. Bye-bye.
सो ऐसी साड़ी खास गलबात मिनिस्टर ऑफ हाउसिंग इंक्लूसिव एंड डाइवर्सिटी अहमद हुसैन दे नाल उम्मीद करते हैं साड़ी यह खास पेशकश तुहानू पसंद आई होगी। फिलहाल मैनू दिओ इजाजत, मुलाकात होएगी अगले हफ्ते एक होर नवे मुद्दे दे नाल। उदों तक लई सत श्री अकाल।